So if you run a 4.7, 4.8 with 5 to 10,000 reviews online, and you want to tie your star rating to your ads when somebody's searching, now let's say there's 3 people at the top of the search, 3 results that came back, and yours says 5,000 4.9 star reviews, you can see that you've differentiated yourself from your competitors.
And because of that, so number one, you're taking up more real estate on the page. Yep. 2, you've got a little bit of social proof built into your listing.
And it's got like little emojis, star emojis.
Yeah, so you can actually, so it actually looks a little bit more attractive because you'll have those 4.5 gold stars or whatever compared to the competitors.
Yeah, totally. And it's an easy thing that you can do to differentiate. I want to say, at least for our technology provider, it's a couple $100 a month to do that. But if you're running ads and you're spending thousands of dollars, and the way to make your ads perform better is by adding the star ratings to it, I think that's pretty legit spend of your money. Hey there, welcome to the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. I am Jennifer.
And I'm Corey.
And today we are back at it talking about, this is kind of like part 2 of our reputation management directory listings. Here's what you need to be worried about in 2024. So just to kind of recap what we talked about last week, we said that reputation management is really your digital front door to your practice. It's how people are finding you. It's how they want to find you. What they're finding is very important. And there's really a handful of things that you should be focused on as a practice at the bare minimum.
Yeah, we really covered what it is and why it matters, and the areas of focus that we pay attention to and suggest that you pay attention to as well, including management and accuracy of data, monitoring and taking action, internal communication, and promotion, how to use those things. So if you did not listen to that episode, highly suggest that you go back and check that one out because it's chock full of really good information. And today we kind of wanted to shift gears a little bit and then talk about sort of what we're paying attention to now and some opportunities for your practice.
Yeah, totally. And so, you're looking at your budgets. You're trying to figure out where's my energy going to go in this new year. And, a lot of times I just had a meeting this morning where we were talking about, an advertising digital ad budget and where we should spend those dollars. And I would say if you're talking about ads, you should be talking about SEO as it relates to your digital front door. And I say that because I'm gonna read you off some numbers. I did a report for a client. I did a 12-month report, same project I was talking about in the last cycle. And from their directory listings and their online reviews, they saw 921,600 impressions in the last 12 months of their name and brand as a result of these listings. They got 39.8 thousand visits to their websites from those directory listings and reviews, 48,500 clicks of people trying to figure out how to find their practice, and 39,000, let me repeat that, 39,000 phone calls in the last 12 months as a result of these things. So if you're not doing anything else in terms of the spokes in the wheel for marketing your practice, this should be at top of your list. And there are some trends and some new things we're paying attention to that are going to help you really differentiate yourself.
Yeah, and you might be saying, well, some of those are those patients are going to find them one way or the other, and maybe I think that's true to
not if the directions are wrong,
to a
not
point,
if the phone number's incorrect,
right? And so that's what I was going to say is actually we've seen before, not on Google but on HealthGrade specifically, where a health system has come in and there was some confusion on the HealthGrade side in terms of like NPI numbers and where those are actually coming from, and they basically just took the practice listings and rewrote them for the hospital, and so all of a sudden the addresses were wrong, the phone numbers were wrong. So it can happen, and it is something that you definitely need to keep your eye on.
Yeah, so I was looking at, as I'm putting together kind of the strategy report for one of our clients, I was looking at our practice and our doctors, and I think I shared there are about 20 doctors, a handful of offices, whatnot. They have many subspecialties under their specialty. And in their market, the hospital has come in and acquired all of the like specialties. So I went ahead and I grabbed all of the doctors and I compared them to doctors of their same specialty. And then I grabbed all their directory listings, like their offices, and I compared them to the offices of the others. And I had our technology partner pulled all that data together. And what I found is everybody had about 5,000 reviews, give or take, by 1,000. So you can only get so many reviews. Everybody had pretty similar star ratings, 4.7 to 4.8. So at the end of the day, if I'm searching, there's really not much difference in a 4.7 versus a 4.8. What might be a difference is if the reviews are newer versus 6 months old. I don't know, but that is, at the end of the day, like the playing field's much more level than it used to be.
Yeah, and you get to a point where there's so many reviews that, if you have 5,000 and your competitor has 50, obviously, tilts in your favor. If you have 5,000, your competitor has 4,500, that scale is much more close to even.
Absolutely,
equal. Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
So then I did a bit more of a deep dive, same practice, and I looked at the office, reviews and sentiment related to the office. Was it clean? Was it dirty? Was it convenient? Was my, whatever it was. I looked at appointments. So I looked at like ease of scheduling, on time, like different kind of keywords that go within appointments. I looked at billing. I looked at patient experience. I looked at staff, and I looked at the doctors themselves. And same thing. Everybody was the same. I mean, it was the difference of like if you're in school and you get like an A minus versus an A. Everybody's the same. So it kind of goes to the question, if the playing field's now level, if you're doing the minimum and you do the basic training there, how do you actually differentiate your practice when it comes to reputation?
Yeah, and I think that one thing that is worth talking about too in terms of the data that you were looking at is even if the playing field is level now, it doesn't mean that you can take your foot off the gas.
No.
Because if your competitors, maybe they were not paying attention, which is the case in the one that we were just referencing, where we had built a pretty significant lead
by a couple of thousand reviews
in terms of number of reviews. And what we've seen over the past 12 months is they've decided to get really aggressive with going after reviews. So they've caught up quickly. So I say that to say, even if you have a lead today, you might not tomorrow. And if you're very close, that may not matter. But if they start to pull away exponentially, I think that does have a negative effect on your practice. And to your point about the new reviews, that definitely matters. I think that matters from not only a search engine standpoint. We know it matters to Google if those are new and there's fresh content and it's relevant. From a patient side, I would argue that, anecdotally, that also matters, because I know for me, my search habit is if I'm going to look up something, doesn't matter what it is, I don't look by best or worst reviews. I go by most recent, because it's like, let's say it's a restaurant. Well, maybe they have new ownership. Maybe there's a new chef, new menu. The most recent one matters to me more than their overall score to an extent. And I think the same thing goes for service-based businesses. So if you have a new location, new provider, maybe you recognize there was a problem with the front desk, but now that's been corrected. So if I sort by newest, I should see that reflected. So I think that those are all kind of important things to keep in mind.
Absolutely,
too.
And as you're planning out your strategy and trying to figure out, like, as you're evaluating what you're currently doing and what your competitors are doing, you literally can pinpoint on a chart when the competitor started leaning into soliciting for reviews. Because I can see where the number of reviews that they had versus what they started having month over month, they're larger than our client, and therefore they're now getting more reviews very quickly. And so our strategy has shifted to what can we do to differentiate ourselves if the playing field is leveled, because we all have the same number of reviews and our star ratings are pretty much the same.
Yeah, and now everyone, I think, either has a vendor in place or has some sort of manual process down where they are collecting these reviews. So it makes it that much more difficult to either find the right partner or ensure that you're getting the right number of reviews and just sort of maximizing that efficiency. And that's what, kind of like the next phase of this, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at kind of the next phase, so what I did is I went in and so the practice that I'm doing this with it's a large independent practice dealing with a lot of pressures from the hospitals who have acquired like specialties and are really trying to run them out of town. And so I went online and I looked at our practice and I looked at all the reviews and I pulled it together so I could get a composite score that resulted, it's an NPS score and it's a star rating score. So looking at it, I'm comparing it to the practice side from the hospitals. So I'm only looking at true physicians or surgeons that are competitors, and I'm only looking at subspecialties within the specialty who are also competitors. And so I'm truly looking at an apples to apples comparison. And our practice, who's been super laser focused on this since about 2008, we have roughly 5,644 reviews at a 4.7 star rating. And they have more reviews than that, but when I'm just looking at the apples to apples, let's call it 6,000, they're at 4.7. Well, their nearest competitor, which was acquired by one of the hospitals, basically has 5,000 reviews, 4.7. And then their next nearest competitor, who's kind of newer in the market, but they were a big acquisition, they have about 1,500 reviews, and they're a 4.8. So if I'm a patient and I'm looking to make a decision, really, what's the difference? What's the difference in a 4.7 versus a 4.8?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, they're all right there in terms of
There's
reviews.
nothing special.
And they're also almost at the point where one has 5,000, one has 6,000. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
If one had 5,000 and one had 50, that would be a huge difference. But I think it's just one of those things where you start to get close and then there's diminishing returns there because there's enough proof to say, well, both of these places must be good because they have the same rating and, for all intents and purposes, the same amount of reviews.
And then one of the other arguments I get is, well, then we just need more. But I think there's a point where you don't just need more. Like, more isn't always better. What you need is frequency. You need newness because Google and all the search engines reward new content. And so you need to have, kind of goes back to, you need automation in place. You need to integrate with your practice management or your EHR so that review solicitation is automated, because what you need is every day you need a couple new things coming through, and you don't need to have that kind of like fall apart if somebody takes vacation.
Yeah, so to unpack that just a little bit, there's a couple different things you can do there. Some people, sort of the manual approach is, well, let's have a report run automatically out of the EHR. We'll encrypt it. We'll send it to whoever. But again, that has to be sent by someone. There's some human hands involved there. Even if you run some type of like scheduler or automation piece, there's an opportunity for that to fail or for, like you said, someone to be sick or out. Sort of the next layer is to set up what's called SFTP, which is just like a secure file transfer. And again, you can run something out of your EHR. It will automatically put it into this SFTP, which automatically uploads it to whatever your review partner is. And that happens at the end of every day or the morning, the day after, however you kind of set that up. That's an automated piece. And then sort of the final tier is a like full-scale integration with your EHR, where as soon as that appointment is completed, then the review platform knows about it and can send out that review invite to the patient either through email or text.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the practice I'm looking at, everybody's 4.7, 4.8 star rating. Everyone basically has the same. So then I was diving deeper into the data, doing a real comparison. Again, looking at my apples to apples examples, and I looked at appointments, I looked at billing, I looked at the doctors, the offices, the patient experience, and the staff, and they're all the same. It's all the difference in like having an A+ rating versus like an A-, but everybody is the same. So if you think about that, what is it that's actually differentiating your practice at this point? It's not just your star reviews. Unless your competitor is terrible and you're great, that's not going to make a difference when it comes to somebody going to book an appointment.
Yeah, and it's funny, like looking at some of that data, the doctor, office, patient experience, and staff, it's the same across the board for everybody.
Same across the board for everyone. I thought it was going to be a differentiator. It's not a differentiator. So what is it that actually can make the difference?
Yeah, and then no surprise, everybody hates billing.
Everybody hates billing.
Yeah, so that's not news if you're listening or watching, but yeah, it's just funny that it's reflected in the reviews and the data.
But what's really interesting is that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we didn't have the opportunity to dive into the data like we do now. And now, because the platforms and the partners are so robust, we're able to really dive into that data.
Yeah. So I know one thing that's in there is the Google seller ratings. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So we are starting to experiment with something called Google seller ratings. You should be able to ask whoever is doing your reputation management for you if the technology provider does this. I think you probably could go to Google directly. I don't know the answer. I'm sure you could. And if you're running ads, what it does is it ties your ads to your reviews on Google. So if you run a 4.7, 4.8 with 5,000 to 10,000 reviews online, and you want to tie your star rating to your ads when somebody's searching. Now let's say there's 3 people at the top of the search, 3 results that came back, and yours says 5,000 4.9 star reviews. You can see that you've differentiated yourself from your competitors.
And because of that, so number one, you're taking up more real estate on the page. Yep. 2, you've got a little bit of social proof built into your listing.
And it's got like little emojis, star emojis.
Yeah, so you can actually, so it actually looks a little bit more attractive because you'll have those 4.5 gold stars or whatever compared to the competitors.
Yeah, totally. And it's an easy thing that you can do to differentiate. I want to say, at least for our technology provider, it's a couple $100 a month to do that. But if you're running ads and you're spending thousands of dollars, and the way to make your ads perform better is by adding the star ratings to it, I think that's pretty legit spend of your money.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And I think another thing that is going to really resonate with our listeners here is the patient-reported outcomes. Essentially, we can use this review solicitation to serve as patient-reported outcomes as well. And when you're doing that, you're using these digital surveys. What we've seen and what the numbers show is that there's a 40% increase in patient outreach and a 23% increase in patient responses. So if you're using sort of the old tried and true methods to get your patient-reported outcomes, what we're saying is now there's an opportunity. You can do that digitally, and you're going to convert better on that percentage, and there's a chance that you're going to get even more usable data that you can take and then not only report on that, but use that for internal improvement as well.
Yeah, and you can actually use it for external marketing opportunities to share your patient-reported outcomes, which I think is a great opportunity to differentiate yourself from your competitors.
And same thing with NPS scores. So you can, depending on your technology provider, but what we've spent a bulk of this time talking about really is for the online review piece. But a lot of these platforms, they have also realized, just like kind of like what we're talking about where everyone has caught up, a lot of these platforms have realized, well, shoot, everybody can offer a survey tool, so what can we do to differentiate ourselves as an example? So some of them now you can send out surveys that are separate from the review solicitation, which is what we've been talking about. So you could also use these platforms, if they have the right technology stack, to send out your NPS scores and collect your survey data that way. Again, you're doing it digitally, it's tied in, it's automated, so it's all kind of taken care of. And I think it's a better user experience for the patients. And again, you'll convert more as a result of that.
And I will say this, our technology provider provides NPS scores. And I was diving into it because there's different types of NPS scores that are out there. And anything really above 50% is considered good. Anything above 80% is considered best in class. And I was trying to dive into like what's their process for getting those NPS scores? Like how do they come to the numbers? And if they, at least for our guys, it's like if you have a 0 or 1 star review, it gets a certain number. If you have like a 2 or 3 star, it's another number. And then if it's a 5 star, it gets another one. And they're looking at like detractors, promoters, and then neutral folks. And it's all coming into an NPS score. And another thing that you can market, you can market it to your consumers, you can market it to potential referral partners, because I will say, like, I'm putting together a slide deck right now for PCPs that we're marketing to for one of our practices. And in that slide deck, I've got, here's some details about our practice, here's the specialties that we work within, here's our doctors, oh, and here's our NPS score as it relates to the practices that you might otherwise be sending patients to. And then I say, and here's how you refer a patient, here's the form on our website, blah, 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 blah. But we're using the technology and tying in the review management systems, the data that we're getting out of that, and we're including it in other strategies across the practice.
And I wonder too, can you use that in recruiting?
Yes.
I mean, do you think that matters for, not only for providers, I think, yes, it does there, but also for some of the employees too. You can say, look, our NPS score of our providers is, 4.8 or whatever. So that means that they're not jerks and they won't make your life miserable. I think that, there's an opportunity to
you can use your marketing. You can use your marketing on it. Absolutely.
Right. But use that in terms of recruiting to say, like, we have a good culture here, and that's exemplified by not only our reviews, but from the NPS score, and just like another data point.
Absolutely. So I think the point of all this is to say that the playing field has been leveled. Now reputation, reviews, directory listings, they're all part of an ecosystem, which has truly become your digital front door to the practice. Everything needs to be firing on all cylinders. Data needs to be accurate, and you need to be soliciting reviews through some level of integration so that it's not a manual process. And then you need to find those couple of ways that you can differentiate. NPS, you can differentiate with NPS scores. What I like about it is you can set a point in time today, and you can measure against that every single month. And then you have a goal that you can focus on, and you can pay attention to what your competitors are doing, but you have a goal. I like the Google seller ratings because they're immediate, they're very visual, they are appearing at the moment somebody's trying to take some kind of action. And again, you can measure results from before them and after them and see if they're worth the dollars and the energy. And the final is the patient-reported outcomes, because then you can really dive into some data, and that's data and quality metrics that you can then publish, and you can use it for reimbursements and for everything else, all of which is providing you data that you can benchmark against.
Yeah, and I think that that's the key there, is because once you're able to measure it, then you can improve upon it. And there's all these other different services that you can use that, like we were just saying, there's insights you can get, there's different surveys, there's all these different reporting tools that allow you to benchmark not only against yourself, but if you want, against your competitors too, and then you can really see, where there's a blind side, and then you can address that, which is awesome. And that's something that, even a year ago, 16 months ago, we could not have done. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because if you're looking to really upgrade your strategy for reputation management in 2024 and beyond, it is no longer about just seeing your star ratings and making sure your stuff is claimed. Now you have to have a technology partner that's able to offer you more as it relates to the patient experience, and to really making that front door. You want a good doorbell. You want to make sure you have the knocker on it. You want you want a nice mat. You want to decorate it for the holidays. Just making your digital front door as appealing as possible. So all these tools that you can now integrate that make it a better experience for your patient.
Yep, absolutely. You want to make it as appealing as possible and as easy to open as possible.
There you go.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm Jennifer.
I'm Corey.
We'll see you next time on the Dr. Marketing Tips Show. Thanks a bunch.
Bye, guys.